first and just give like an overview of like the work that you've done, and then I'll give an overview, and then we can like talk more about like the in-depth.
So during my gap semester, I moved to DC and I worked for this journalism nonprofit called the Pulitzer Center. And I was an education intern, so I was in charge of a lot of like curriculum development and doing a lot of school tours with journalists to like talk about their work. It was like the first time I'd worked full time, and the staff there were so supportive. I thought like one of the big things was like they taught me how to be more like assertive in a workplace, and it was never like, oh, she's just an intern, so she's like at the lowest tier. But they were like, oh no, sit next to like, say like the directors, and they always encouraged me to like ask questions and contribute to the conversations. So I thought that was like a very valuable experience, and also just like working full time I think it was a nice transition, and I actually prefer it to like taking classes, like the schedule, because I feel like it's like very compartmentalized, like it's like work and then you're like free time.
I also took a gap semester, and I was a PR intern for Lime in San Francisco. I didn't work full time because I also worked retail at Madewell, so I worked 2 part-times. So I technically worked full time, but just like I didn't work in that like one place. Quick maths. At my most, I was working 50 hours a week, which like sucks, and I would not recommend it. But so they don't like have an intern program at Lime, especially for PR. So I kind of just helped with like random tasks that the PR team needed help with. So I helped with like things like creating media lists and press releases, and I also got to sit in on like high-level meetings, which was like really scary, but also like really cool. And then I also kind of just did like little administrative tasks for like the business development team or the marketing team. So I was like the only intern working because it was the school year. And I think they maybe had like 1 or 2 like engineering interns, but I basically helped with like everything that wasn't engineering. And then I worked retail, so like pretty straightforward. I worked probably like 20 hours there. And at one point, I was like very overcommitted, so I didn't have any days off for like a month and a half. I would have like half days off, and then I decided I couldn't do that, and it wasn't healthy, and I took Fridays off. Wait, I forgot to talk about I also work Fashion Week occasionally. It's not like a like long-term position thing, like technically I'm an intern, but I just go for Fashion Week basically and help out. So I worked London Fashion Week men's, and I also worked New York Fashion Week last week, so September. And I kind of just help with, like, it depends on the show, it depends on the agency and the designer, but how I get the job is I just like go through the show schedule and I email all of the designers and all of the PR agencies and slide into some LinkedIn messaging and pitch myself. Um, and then I get to like help out with shows and like move chairs around and like dress models and do whatever they want me to do for a weekend. Basically.
Dude, I feel like that's so cool because I feel like that's something that a lot of people, it's like their dream to like one day go to like New York Fashion Week, and you've actually like made it into a reality.
But it's not like a hard job per se. It's just kind of like I feel like fashion is such like a elitist hoity-toity kind of like thing that people are like scared to do it, and it just seems like it's like super unattainable. But it's not really.
Mm-hmm.
It was a spooky experience too because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know how to do this. But I was like, yeah, of course I can do that. I guess like my future aspirations are like to work in fashion PR. So like post grad, I'm moving to New York for sure. Um, and like I don't know, I haven't really like figured it out. But I feel like the first time I went and like I wasn't even sure I could get into a show, just being around like the people and the energy and like seeing everyone like walk in was just like so amazing. And then like being able to like in London, being able to like go to like some model fittings and like see the shows and like talk to people like at the door, and then like check in all these like fancy people who like wrote for like GQ or Vogue or like things like that, and then like hanging out with the models like outside the shows and stuff like that. It was just like, this is crazy. And like,
when did you figure out like this is like the path that you wanted to pursue? Because I feel like
PR or fashion
or
PR.
or both, I guess, because I just feel like right now it's like a time where so many people are so unsure of what they want to do in life, and I feel like you have it like pretty much figured out and you've like made concrete steps to go towards it.
I don't know. I mean, like literally all of my interviews this summer were like, "Why did you decide on PR?" So my like rehearse spiel was like, "I did a lot of journalism in high school."
Shout out P Candy.
Like I really do enjoy writing, and like I enjoy like meeting new people most of the time. So I feel like PR is like you get to like write and like finding like it's the same as like journalism where you like find the angle and find like the way you want to pitch something. So I think it's like interesting to see how like different people can come up with different perspectives to pitch this like story, which is like the same for journalism. So I'm sure like you relate to like that part of it, like finding your angle or like finding like a new way to cover something to make it like newsworthy. And then also like fashion is just such an interesting field. I feel like it's very like glamorous for people who aren't in it. But like every time I work fashion week, it's just like a lot of moving chairs around and a lot of like running around and like being sweaty. I don't know. I just like I really enjoy fashion, even though I wear like Brandy Melville and like Birks.
No matter which field you go into, PR is like a huge part of it, or like communications. So that's a really good way, I think, to like enter into the fashion world because it's like a lot more. I guess there are more opportunities than say if you want to be like a designer or a model. I'm at this stage now where I feel like I have a lot of, or most of my work experience since I guess like sophomore year of high school has been in communications or marketing or like journalism, and I'm kind of worried that I'm like the longer I go like down this path, the more I like shut myself off from others.
Do you like feel like most of your stress comes from like work or school or like where does your stress come from? Where does it go? Where does it come from?
Cotton Eye Joe. I feel like my stress isn't really from like concrete things that are happening in my life. If that makes sense. It's not like, oh, because of a certain assignment or school. It's more just like a broader like, I don't know, anxiety. Like I'm just anxious about like my future and whether I am doing enough to like prepare for it. And I feel like that's just like, I feel like it's not like, I feel like I'm doing like the most that I can, and I'm like really using like every single day I put in my best effort.
Oh, I am also constantly stressed. I keep getting white hairs because I've developed this really fun stress thing where I clench my jaw really hard, and like sometimes I don't realize I'm doing it, and then I get like a like jaw ache, and then I'm like, oh, it's because I've been clenching my jaw for like past like 3 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I also feel that like general anxiety kind of thing about like I feel like in some ways I know I'm doing like a lot for myself and for my career, and like there are concrete things that I've done that it's like dang like good on me, but at the same time I always feel like there's more that I could be doing, and I feel like I'm just like constantly burnt out like all the time. And I don't know, I wonder if it's because of like the Silicon Valley and like where we grew up, because like even though like I know like I'm not supposed to compare myself to like my peers or whatever, it's very easy for me to like look at people from Cali on LinkedIn and be like, oh shit, they're doing like this and this and this, and I'm like, gotta step it up because like what if I'm a failure at our like 5-year college anniversary?
Dude, I think that like Silicon Valley mentality of just like you're never doing enough, like never be satisfied, and like push yourself to the limit, especially with like the whole like entrepreneur like spirit where it's like when you're starting a company you're not supposed to sleep for like 5 years. I feel like that's so like ingrained within me, and I thought that was kind of like the norm everywhere, except like I think going to DC kind of brought another perspective.
Yeah. I feel like working, well, like I technically work full time, like on the days that I did work, because I did work like 9 to 5. But it's also like super weird working because like people, like they give you assignments, like things that they need help with, but when you're done, you're like done, you know, and then you kind of still have to be in the office. So like it was kind of like weird for me at first, and I felt like weird being like, okay, I'm done. Like, is there anything else I can help with? Because then it's like I'm kind of inconveniencing them because then if they don't have any work, they have to like try and find work for me. So I feel like having an internship versus being in class is like very different because in class it's like, okay, do this and then do this and then do this. Versus in an internship, they'll give you some things to do, but a lot of it is like you finding ways to make yourself helpful, or to like pitch things, or to like come up with your own way to like pass time.
I think that's one thing that I've like slowly been learning, and like what like the gap semester internship really taught me, because they were like super like supportive of interns like starting their own projects or like making the internship their own instead of just like fulfilling the job requirements. So I thought that was like really cool to explore, and then to like get to know people. And it's something I like never really thought about, because I was just like, interns are supposed to be quiet in the corner just doing their little like tasks. Like Sheryl Sandberg's like Lean In TED Talk, and then she talked a lot about how women are like a lot less confident in their abilities and like a lot less assertive. Like if a guy is like underqualified, he'll like say he's like more qualified than he actually is, and women will say they're like less. And then they're also like interns, and like women especially are also less likely to sit like at the table, and they'll sit at the sides. And it's kind of just like something I'm still working on, I think, because I'm like, I still have that mentality, like especially if we're like the youngest ones in the company. I'm always just like, I don't want to like intrude or like take up space, but I feel like, and then afterwards I regret it, because I'm like, that was such a good opportunity, and I like squandered it.
I feel like it's definitely really hard to sit in like a meeting of people who are like way older than you and like way like more qualified to like have thoughts. Do you think that you like enjoyed growing up in Silicon Valley, and also like how much competition is good, or is competition good?
Okay, I think specifically for me and my interests, I'm just gonna say like I would not want to move back there, like live there ever again. Like I feel like I'd be much happier elsewhere. And I think like the competition, I think it prepared me very well, I think, for like the real world, quote unquote. Like I feel like I was always like driven to go get like internships at a young age, but at the same time it put me under such like immense stress that I felt like I had a very narrow world view, and like feel like I did a lot of things for like societal or like Silicon Valley expectations of success, instead of like being authentic to who I was and what I really enjoyed. But I'm like grateful for the opportunities it gave me.
Yeah, I feel like the same way, because like for both of our like occupations currently, like we can make a living in the Silicon Valley, but we can basically make a living like anywhere, because like journalism and like PR exists everywhere. Um, like the same way, I feel like very grateful for like the drive, I guess, that like being in the Silicon Valley like gave me. Um, like also the same thing, like pushing myself to find internships and like actively going out and seeking like work opportunities and like things for my career and stuff like that is definitely like a side effect of living in the Silicon Valley and like growing up around like such like incredible competition, and also just like high achieving peers and coworkers and everything. But I also don't think I could move back there, just because I'm like tech is not something that I'm like it's really cool. It's really cool like what tech companies are doing and like the advancements that they're making. Applying for internships is like long, spicy process, and at the end you just don't even remember anything that you said, and then you show up and you're like, I swear I am qualified, but you also just don't remember anything you said.
I guess it's just like imposter syndrome until the day we die.
And then you die and you are not an imposter.
Sure. I guess we can just wish everyone best of luck. Wow. That was such a half-hearted, like, we're all just struggling here. Trying to...
Beep beep. Struggle bus.